you're thinking about moving to DC, Maryland, the Eastern Shore, or Easton, Maryland in particular, this is the video for you, because today my man Zach Lemon is talking to Rick Hoffman, who is a real estate agent and local in the area, about everything that there is to know about living in Easton, Maryland. He gets into the economics, the culture, the history, the schools, the entertainment scene, whether that be restaurants or bars or the entertainment on the water. And if you like this video and you like learning about different areas around the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, check out our channel, because that's all we talk about. We help out-of-state buyers learn about everything that there is to know about this area, so they know where to move and who to call when they make that move. So check out our contact information in the description below, and let's get into it.
Hey guys, it's Zach with Living in DC, and today we're going to be talking about Easton in Talbot County, Maryland. And with us, we have Rick Hoffman. He's a realtor in the area. So Rick, how long have you been a realtor? How long have you lived in the Easton area, and what made you get into real estate?
I grew up in the area. I grew up in Annapolis, went away to law school and undergraduate. I lived in New York actually for about 22 years. I got into real estate. I'm a real estate attorney. I practiced law for about 14 years, and then I went into real estate management with a company called Douglas Elliman up in Manhattan, and then the Corcoran Group. I ended up running the Corcoran Group's division on Long Island, running the Hamptons offices out there. We had the largest market share at the time. I ran about 12 offices. I was transferred down to DC by the parent company, worked there for a while, and now I am the brokerage manager with TTR Sotheby's International Realty in both Annapolis and Easton, Maryland. I've lived out here about 3.5 years. It was kind of always my dream, even as a kid, to live over on the Eastern Shore in the Easton area.
Sweet. Well, dreams do come true. That's awesome.
That's right.
So tell me a bit about Easton. What's the culture like? Is it like a bigger city? Is it more suburban? What's it like out there?
Okay, so Easton's in Talbot County, and specifically Talbot County is kind of a great spot because it's known to have the second most tidal waterfront in the United States, just after, I believe, Dorchester County, which is the next county next door. Easton is, or has traditionally been, a rural town. It's the county seat for Talbot County. Talbot County is a fairly rural county, but it's also several years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, it was touted as having the most millionaires per capita of any county in the United States. A lot of people come here to retire. It's a beautiful area. Easton's a beautiful old colonial town, and there's just loads of waterfront and great old colonial plantations and mansions along the waterfront, and it's very attractive to people from all over the country as a place to live.
Wow. That's cool. So the most millionaires per capita in the country, you said?
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, though. If there's only 100 people, that only takes so many millionaires to have the most per capita, right?
That's true. That's true. It's still impressive.
Definitely a lot more millionaires in Manhattan than there are in Talbot County, but
Sure. That is cool, though. That's kind of a cool little brag.
Yeah, we have the second busiest. Funny enough, we have the second busiest airport in the state of Maryland, and it doesn't have any commercial flights. It's just private. So.
Yeah, that says something.
Yeah, right.
Hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
So what's the story? Because it's not too far from DC. What's the history in Easton? Is there anything specific to that area that's interesting?
Well, I'll tell you, it's a lot of stuff. It's the water. It's the rural character of the county. The county's very good on their zoning, and they're pretty strict on development, which is fantastic. So there's a lot of farms, a lot of farmland, a lot of large properties on the water. Its character is, there's also a big second home area for people from both Baltimore and Washington, which are both less than 2 hours away. It's very commutable to Annapolis, which is the state capital of Maryland, which is also a really nice colonial but much bigger town. Easton really maintains a very small town character, and it's a beautiful town because it does date back to the colonial era. Our courthouse is a beautiful old colonial courthouse. So people are just attracted to like the kind of a small town feel, but a very sophisticated little town.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I can really picture what that looks like. So that's cool. I feel like economics are going to be interesting because, we had talked about the amount of, wealth that's in Easton, but it's also very rural. So what would you say is the most common way to work in Easton? Do you commute? Do most people stay home and work, or are they not working much at all because most of them are retired, or what does that look like?
So just kind of anecdotally, I'd say that there are a lot of retirees here. But it's a really vibrant town and a vibrant community, and there's a lot of people who have lived for generations in this town. Housing is fairly affordable, at least comparatively to the rest of the state in certain areas. So it's really a good mix. It's a great dynamic that the housing market has, and the economics of the area. I think that what we realized is during the pandemic, so many people from the cities, Baltimore, Washington, Philadelphia is only a little over 2 hours away. Manhattan, I can be from my house here outside of Easton to the Holland Tunnel to be in New York City in less than 3.5 hours. So, and to tell you the truth, after living out in the Hamptons, it could take you that long on a Friday night to get out there. So, it's commutable as a second home. And we do have a lot of even New Yorkers who are second homeowners here in Talbot County and in Easton.
Interesting. Is there a particular industry that creates the most jobs in Easton for those that do work?
Well, it is an agricultural community. Easton is the town, it's the county seat. So most of our big businesses are there. We do have like a Target and a BJ's and all of these types of that type of shopping. There's a Walmart. But most of it is, we have a lot of boutique shopping. It has a very historic downtown. And I think that all of that industry, and then there's also, there really is in Talbot County and around Easton, a real industry for watermen and the seafood industry too, still. Crabbers and oystermen and all of that. So yeah, it's driven a lot by that industry as well.
That's pretty cool. Would you say that people visit Easton a lot, like tourism wise, or
Yeah, tourism is a big industry in Easton too. We have great hotels. We have great restaurants. There's two other sort of major towns. They're not very big, but the two other towns in the county are St. Michael's and Oxford. They're both colonial era towns as well, and they bring in a lot of tourism as well. A lot of people come by boat to the Easton area from Baltimore and Annapolis and other places on the bay. It's a great stop for a cruise on the Chesapeake Bay. People come through Talbot County and come into Easton as well.
That's cool. That's exciting. So, and you had mentioned that you guys have great hotels, great restaurants. What are like the top 3 restaurants in Easton?
Now, when you top 3, is that like the best food or the top priced? Or, I mean, we have really great restaurants. We've got everything from pubs. I mean, there's fast food. Route 50, which goes from Washington, D.C. to the ocean, passes right through Easton. So along that link, we have all of our, chain type restaurants. But I'll tell you honestly, and just so people believe the source, I mean, I lived in New York for 22 years. I'm fairly well traveled. There's a restaurant in Easton if you want to go to the top end called Bas Rouge. It's a prefix menu. It's not inexpensive by any shake of the imagination. The first time I went there after moving here, I left. I couldn't believe that restaurant was in the little town of Easton, and I walked out and I said to our group, I think that's the best restaurant I've ever eaten in my life. It was just amazing. It's just the owner also owns a tabletop store with all Austrian crystal and tableware that they sell out of. He uses that in the restaurant. It's just an amazing fine dining experience. And we have everything from that down to the good old Dairy Queen out on the highway. It's but great pubs, a great Italian restaurant in town in Scosa. Just some really good dining options too.
Good. That's good. Well, and you mentioned people do visit Easton fairly frequently. What type of shopping are we looking at? I know that you mentioned Target and stuff like that. Are there any like outdoor or indoor malls in Easton? And you mentioned there's a downtown area. Can you tell me a bit more about what there is to be there?
The people that visit Easton come for our historic downtown mostly, because it's really, really an attractive little town. There's great boutiques, there's great boutique shopping, there's toy stores, there's bookstores, there's antiques, there's all of that. I don't think they come here for the big box experience. I think they're really looking at, having a really nice meal, staying at kind of a cute inn, and then kind of enjoying the historic nature of the town more than anything.
What if there was maybe a younger family that was wanting to move to Easton and they had some kids, maybe a couple pets? Like, what would you see a family like that doing in Easton?
Oh, it's great. And I mean, the dynamic over here, it's becoming younger and younger all the time as more and more people telecommute and can work remotely. We're seeing a big influx of a younger population. We have a great public golf course. We have a great country club that has a lot of young members too. There's good schools here, really high ranked schools. There's the waterfront is also something that's just an amazing opportunity for kids. I mean, I appreciate so much because I grew up on the water over in Annapolis, and to grow up near the bay and all the opportunities for boating and sailing and swimming, and just as a kid being able to go to the beach, and it's just it's great. And it is truly, despite the fact that I think of Easton as a very sophisticated little village, it has a very, very small town country feel to it, and it's a great place for young families and kids.
Yeah, if there's water nearby, the kids got plenty of stuff to do, especially in the summer. How long does it take to drive from Easton to like the East Coast beaches?
You're an hour and 40 minutes. So it's close to the ocean beaches, but all of the little towns here have beaches on the bay, so you have beaches. They don't have surf, but it's great swimming and boating and everything. So it's a great lifestyle. Yeah.
Cool. You had mentioned there's good schools in Easton too. And obviously there's a couple public schools. Are there any like charter or private schools? And what's that like?
Yeah, there are. There's a really a large Catholic school, St. Peter's and Paul, and then there's the country school in Easton, which has been here forever and ever, and it's a lower grade school, and a lot of kids. There's also a school called the Gunston School, which is about 40 minutes away, which is a really great private school on the water with the sailing program and everything too. So it's and they're competitive. So there's a lot of great opportunities for kids and
that's sweet. Well, so and we had originally talked about a lot of like the retirees that live in Easton, and then now there's like more and more younger families moving there. So one thing that I've noticed about cities that are like that is the main thing that brings people together are like events and stuff. So does the city do any sort of events for like holidays or fall events? What does that look like?
So, yeah, I mean, there's events all the time out here. I mean, it's amazing within the county and within Easton itself. Just some things are that we have a fantastic art museum called the Academy Arts Museum. We have in the fall, there's what is called the Waterfowl Festival. So Easton sits at the convergence of the Atlantic flyway. So all the ducks and geese and everything converge on the eastern shore of Maryland as they fly south. So a lot of people move here truly for the hunting too. And that's what attracts people from elsewhere in the country to come in the fall to their homes here and hunt. But they have a waterfowl festival, which is a really big thing in Easton every year. They also have a big plein air festival with artists that come from all over the country. It's one of the most sought after plein air festivals in the country to be a participant in. They only take 58 artists to compete, but it's a big event. And close by, we have the Chesapeake Maritime Museum down in St. Michael's, which is really good. We have the Avalon Theater that has live performance events throughout the year. And also the Prager Family Center for the Arts just opened this year, and they're bringing in top talent to their stage from around the country, around the world, actually.
Wow.
It's just amazing, and it's interesting because their events are very, very popular, and they really have top talent, Carnegie Hall worthy talent. People who will perform at Carnegie Hall come and perform here. That's
really cool. So it seems like even though Easton is a very like rural city, there's some rich history, and there's an emphasis on nature and the arts, which is more than enough for someone maybe to want to move to the area. So if someone's looking to move to Easton, how much house can they buy for how much money? Like, what does that look like?
So, we do have fairly inexpensive housing, and when I say that, it's relative, of course, but you can buy smaller homes in Easton for in the 200s, low
Really?
200s even, yeah. And if you want to move to a townhouse, you can find things even lower than that. And then, so there's something for everyone, right? I just sold a little house this year for just at $300,000, but it's a nice house. It was 4 bedrooms. It was a standalone single family, very close to town. So there's all kinds of opportunities for young families and people to get into the market. And then for people who are like our retirees who come out here, we're selling properties in over the tens of millions of dollars.
Sure.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Would you say that like the larger homes are kind of more on the outskirts and then the smaller homes are kind of closer to downtown, or are there like...
Yeah, the in-town homes are smaller, but you can find really big homes right in Easton as well.
Like the colonial style?
Yeah, some colonial homes and definitely 1800s era homes all over Easton, within the town. And then, when people say they live in Easton, most of the time they do live outside of the town, because that's where you can be on the water. And the real draw here is for people who want to spend the money, it's to be on the water here.
Okay. So what would you say, let's look at like a 3 or 4 bedroom lakefront property. What are you looking at spending on something like that?
Okay, so I'll only correct you, Zach, because it's never on the lake here. It's either on a river or the bay.
Oh, man.
But for a waterfront home,
that's good.
For a waterfront home where you can take your boat and go anywhere in the world, if it's big enough, right? You're not bound because you're on the Chesapeake Bay. So a 3 or 4, you're getting the lowest price waterfront for a good size 4-bedroom home is going to be in the $750s to $1 million range to be on the water and have your own dock and all of that. But you can find things down to the 4s, depending on the location close to Easton.
Okay, that's not bad.
There's a lot of things that play into it for when you're looking at waterfront too in this area, because it's like, how deep is the water at your pier? Is it navigable, or are you on a creek that has good navigation out to the bay? All of these kinds of things too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a lot of, really good information for someone who may be looking to move into the DC area. So if there was someone that's on the fence about moving to Easton, what would you say to them?
Why are you on the fence? It is, if Easton is a location that you could live in, I would say that there's no reason that you wouldn't want to. It's very interesting because when I did buy my house over here, for me personally, and I was living in DC, and I was looking originally for a second home, and I looked west of DC. There's all the horse country and the more heading towards the mountains, right? Yeah. And you come out here, and here in Easton, and the Easton area, it's very flat, the eastern shore of Maryland. So you're on the Chesapeake Bay, but you're on the ocean side. It's a big peninsula over here. It's flat, but the water and the beauty of the farmland and just how the whole kind of vibe over here, it's dynamic. There's a lot going on. It's sophisticated. There's a reason that a lot of people retire here as wealthier people, who come because it does have a lot of cultural things that happen. It's got a great art museum. It does have great schools. There's just a lot of reasons that people come here because it's a really dynamic community with just a lot going on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. I think we covered pretty much everything that anyone would need to know about, living in the Easton area. So Rick, I really appreciate you coming on, and it was great learning about Easton with you. And if you guys are wanting to move into the DC area, feel free to reach out to Rick or book a call with us, and we can send you to the right place. Thank you guys for watching, and Rick, I'll talk to you next time.
I'm here to help. All right, thanks.